Hello everyone, welcome to another video, another PvP guide video for the Guardian. Last week we did the Meditation Guardian, went over a little bit, told you some tips and tricks and stuff, and that's basically the same format it's going to be for every PvP guide video, or every guide video pretty much, that I do. One thing I wanted to add on top of that, I've recently been playing, I've been playing a lot, and I've been realizing a lot that Meditation Guardian is not part of the meta anymore for teams, like kind of like high tier teams kind of deal. It's still a fun build to play. Yeah, 1v1 spec, really fun. You can still play it, it's still really good, just isn't on par with a lot of the new bursting that's coming from Mesmers, Ellies, and even Necros to an extent. Just can't, keep up with all that damage that is just kind of very fast and instant, where Bodyguard has a bit of ramp up time that it needs. So it's still fun to play, just if you're into the metas thing, it's not really up there. But, however, going on to what we're going to be talking about today, we'll be talking today about Bunker Guard, which is coming back, surprisingly. I'm very excited because this was what I played before. This is how I played Guardian. This is what I was introduced to as a Guardian when I got into PvP a long time ago. And that was Bunker Guard, and it was super fun, and then it kind of fell out because of Condis and things like that. It just couldn't handle Condis very well before. And now, with the new specializations and a new elite shout, we're now able to handle Condis even better than before, and still be able to survive pretty long in team fights, and even last a little bit longer now in 1v1. So, on top of that, I just wanted to add before we go on, this is brand new recording software that I'm using, so it's going to be in 1080p for the first time. This videos will be in 1080p, so you can go to high def all you want. So I'll be, and also I'll be using a new recording software, so if there's any audio clips or any video clips, just let me know in the comments or feedback. Just let me know if things wonky, and I'll just try to fix it as best as I can. Anyway, on to the Bunker Guardian. So, we'll be going over the specializations first, we'll be going over the PvP build then, and then we go over utility skills and healing and elite. So, for our specializations, we'll be using Honor, Valor, and Virtues. Now, we choose these three because there's a lot of good defensive traits in these, and as it might look, it looks very similar to the Meditation Guard using Valor and Honor, or Valor and Virtues. And you're right, it looks pretty similar to the Meditation Guard because of the way that specializations work, we're allowed to use a lot of the cool Grandmaster traits that we couldn't use before, or at least as many as them as we could before, so that makes Bunker Guard even better than it was originally. So let's get on with it. The first specialization line we'll be using is Honor, and the minor traits for Honor are Vigorous Precision, and what this gives us our nice dodging ability, ability to dodge quite often, which is important to Bunker Guard, and I'll be talking about dodging in our tips and tricks section of this video, and how important it is to surviving as a Bunker Guard, excuse me. Our second minor trait is Selfless Daring. The end of your dodge roll heals you and everyone else around you. Nice dodging trait. Really wish it was a bit stronger than it is, but, it's still pretty good. And our last and final one is Purity of Body. Some more endurance regen from our Virtue of Resolve passive. So our Virtue of Resolve gives us extra endurance regen. Don't rely on this too much. So don't be afraid to pop your Virtue of Resolve because you're like, oh, I want that 15% endurance regen. No, don't worry about it. You have plenty of vigor throughout the fight, and you'll have your energy sigils, which is some sigils we'll be using in a PvP build. And so for our Adept trait, we'll be using Protective Reviver. I love this trait now. It is so much better than it used to be. Actually, it's not that it's better than it used to be. It's just that now we can use it alongside other traits that make it amazing. It was amazing before, but now that Shield of Absorption actually is a shorter cooldown, this makes it even more powerful. I just wish that if you use Stalwart Defender, it would reduce the recharge of the Shield of Absorption for this trait, but that's not probably, it doesn't happen, but still it's really good. Gives us that Shield of Absorption to knock foes away when we're reviving people, so it helps us res faster and more effectively, and it heals as well. And then once we revive them, it gives us Aegis protection and regen to both us and the revivee. So it's really nice if you're trying to get back into the fight, get that Aegis and protection for the player you're reviving. You could take Invigorated Bulwark if you really wanted to, if you don't like Protective Reviver. However, it is not really that reliable. The only reason you would take it is to have the reduced recharge on your mace skills. And it's the stacking healing power thing doesn't stay long enough, and really it's only when you block attacks and you know, it's just kind of, it's too much reliance on a mechanic that doesn't always happen for a Guardian. And for our master trait, we'll be taking Honorable Staff. In this trait line, Honorable Staff, it reduces the recharge for your staff skills and increases boon duration. But you could also take Pure of Heart if you really wanted to, because there are a lot of traits we'll be taking that give us Aegis, or have our Virtue of Courage recharge and stuff like that. So that's also a good trait to bring if you want some more healing for yourself. Mainly it's more for yourself than everyone else. I wish it did heal everyone around you. That'd be kind of cool if it did that. But otherwise, you can switch between these two. Empowering Might, don't take it. I mean, even though we're critting a lot, it's not worth taking it because the bite doesn't last long enough. And for our Grandmaster trait, we're bringing Pure of Voice. So our shouts will be converting conditions into boons. It converts one condition into a boon and reduces the recharge of our shouts. And we'll be taking this because we have 3 shouts that we'll be using. And so it gives it, and also it synergizes with the rune we'll be using that I'll talk about in a bit. The next specialization line we'll be using is Valor, and we kind of already went over this one in Meditation Guardian video, but I'll go over it again. We have Valor's Defense that gives us Aegis when we're struck below the health threshold. We have our Courageous Return, which recharges our Virtue of Courage when we revive an ally, so that kind of synergizes with our res trait kind of a little bit. And also Might of Protector giving us might when we block attacks. It's just random might. For our Adept trait, we'll be taking Smiter's Boon. This trait in particular is what's helping Booker Guard so much right now. And the reasoning is that this allows us to have a quote-unquote kind of a faux meditation on our heal skill, kind of. So it's giving our heal skill the additional meditation skill, Smite Condition. So that allows us to put a meditation skill on our heal skill. And that allows us to use it gives us the opportunity to have a second meditation skill on a utility bar without taking too much space up. And that means we can use Monk's Focus along with that, and that gives us extra healing and also extra continuity removal from the 2 meditations, having them reduce cooldown. If you're not using Shield like I'm using, you could take Focus Mastery if you're using Focus. I mean, I'll be going over differences between Shield and Focus in the PvP build section. But for this, we'll be using Shield. So in the Master trait line, we'll be using Stalwart Defender for our Shield recharge. And the toughness is kind of a bonus. A lot of people argue that taking Strength in Numbers is better, but it is my opinion that Strength in Numbers is more of a passive way to defend people. I'd rather take a more active approach to protecting my allies, and that's why I take Shield, and that's why I get that reduced recharge on the Shield, so that I can more actively defend people. I think active defense is much better than passive defense, especially since 150 toughness isn't going to help you much, especially in this burst meta that we're having with the Mesmers and Ellies and Condi. And Condis are just rampant, especially burning, so it doesn't even matter if you have the toughness. So it's preferable to bring, in my opinion, Stalwart Defender. And Communal Defenses is just an awful trait. And in our Grandmaster section, we'll be having Monk's Focus, which, you know, like I said before, gives us our meditation's ability to heal us and give us Fury and reduces the recharge. You could bring Altruistic Healing if you really wanted to, but I don't like the skill. I don't like the trait, I mean, because it doesn't support allies, really. It just supports us, which you could, again, another argument you could say is, oh, but having, you know, healing yourself and staying alive longer means you can protect your allies more, support them more. Yes, but I would rather have this is relying too much, especially on our Empower skill, and if I don't have stability up to use my Empower, I can get interrupted, so I'd rather have a more reliable source of healing, and that's why I chose Monk's Focus over that. And Retributive Armor, we don't have a whole lot of toughness, nor we're going for any damage builds, so the ferocity gain doesn't really help us at all. And in the Virtue trait line, again, very similar to Mediguard, the minor traits are Inspired Virtue, which gives us our boons when we use our F skills. Virtue of Retribution, giving us a little bit of Retaliation, and duration increase on the Retaliation. And then Power of the Virtuous, giving us extra damage for all the boons we have, and reducing the recharge on our virtues. So the Adept trait we'll be bringing is Retaliatory Subconscious. This is awesome. I mentioned this before in the Mediguard build video, that this skill used to be, or this trait, I keep calling skills. Trait was really awful before. All it did was give us Retal, and that was it. And it had a longer cooldown. Now it has a shorter cooldown, and it gives us Aegis on top of that, so it's actually a lot better. I think it's actually nice, and this also All the different Aegis traits synergize well with Pure of Heart, so if you wanted to bring that, that's another reason to bring it if you really want to, because then you'll have that Aegis, you get the Aegis from being knocked down, you get the heal when it's popped, so that's a real nice benefit. And synergy. We don't take Unscathed Contender because we're not doing any damage really, and we're not using consecrations for this build. If you were going to use a consecration, be like Sanctuary, then you would want to take Master of Consecrations. I'm actually going to talk about consecrations and the different skills on Guardian in another video, but right now we're not using consecrations for this build. And for our master trait, we're taking Absolute Resolution. This removes condies, 3 condies specifically, from us and everyone around us, and increases the healing from our Virtue of Resolve passive. So overall, really nice trait. Gives us more condi removal, which we'll really need. Supreme Justice, we're not trying to burn anyone. We're not doing a condi build at all, and I don't like the condi builds. And we're not using Hammer for this build, although you could bring Hammer, but we're using Staff for it instead. Actually, I will have to, once the new beta weekend comes up, I'll actually be trying Hammer a lot with Dragon Hunter, so I'll probably be using this skill a lot, so look out for that in another video. For our Grandmaster trait, we'll be taking Indomitable Courage, mainly for the ability and for the stun break it gives us on our Virtue of Courage. And not only does it stun break us, it stun breaks everyone around us. So it's kind of, if you've been paying attention to all the new announcements, actually a better version of the Ellie trait whenever they use a Warhorn skill for Tempest that stun breaks. So it's actually kind of, in my opinion, this is a better version of that. So you could take Battle Presence if you wanted to, but it's not really that, I mean, yeah, it gives us a little passive healing, not really that big of a deal. And the Verminating Wrath, we're not trying to burn anyone, really. We're not trying to do a condi damage, really. We're just focusing on the supportive aspect of... And so that was everything. That was all the specializations. Hopefully that was helpful. Try these traits out. If you really want to try Pure of Heart out, do that. If you really don't want to use Shield, or you don't want to try Shield at all, Strength of Numbers, I guess you could try. But overall, this is what I've come up with. This is actually a build I've made. I haven't looked at MetaBattle. I haven't asked anyone for help on anything. I've completely gone over this myself. This is what I think Bunker Guard should be right now. Just my opinion. And I've tested it a bunch of times. I've even tried it against in 1v1s with friends. I've done all of that stuff to try to make sure that this is the best build I can come up with for Bunker Guard. And so, on to the PvP build. For our weapons, we'll be using Staff, Mace, and Shield. We use Staff mainly for the Empower, and we use it for the number 2 heal. We hit it twice and it explodes and gives us a larger heal. And for the wall is super awesome and is very helpful for controlling team fights and kind of cutting off areas. On the Mace Shield, Mace is really nice for the block on the number 3. If you look, it has a block on number 3, and it has a regen field on number 2, and it even has a heal on its auto attack. So that's really nice. Now, for Shield, I want to talk about talk about Shield a little bit. Why I use it over Focus. The first reason is that I believe Focus is a more damage-oriented weapon. Even though you could argue that, oh yeah, you have the blocking mechanic from number 5 and the condition removal mechanic on number 4. My answer to both of those is on the 4, the bouncing projectile has a very random chance to hit you or anyone else, so for all you know, it could just be bouncing between 2 enemies and it could never hit you or an ally at all. So there's too much randomness in that, I believe is not as active as I'd like it to be. I don't want to risk it on random chance to save myself or save someone else from a condi burst just by some random thing that bounces between 2 people. On number 5, while it is a block, I think it is a more selfish block to ourselves. It's really just you're just kind of using it, and yeah, you could say, oh, you could use it as active defense for yourself. Yeah, but you could also use Shield Absorption for an active defense as well, and I'll be going over some tips, some cool tricks you can do with the Shield Absorption, especially with a shorter cooldown while fighting people. And our sigils we'll be using on our Staff are Generosity and Energy. We bring Generosity for that, just extra condi clear, and Energy because we want to dodge as often as possible. Dodging is our main source of survival and is the most important thing to know on Guardian. On our Mace and Shield, we're using Intelligence and Energy. The reason I bring Intelligence is, one, there's not really much else you could bring. You could bring Sigil of renewal if you really wanted to have like that little bitty, like I think 800 heal on you or something else. You could bring a stacking one if you want, but I don't like stacking sigils at all really in the game. Sigil of Intelligence is nice because it gives us that guaranteed crit, so our Vigorous Precision will be up all the time. And our rune will be using Rune of the Soldier. This is mainly because it synergizes so well with our Pure Voice. As you can see, it removes a shout, or a shout removes a condition on each affected ally. So every time we use a shout, remove a condition, and also convert a condition into a boon. So that's 2 conditions moved for each shout. We're using 3 shouts, so that's 6 conditions total we can remove with our shouts. And it gives us some vitality and toughness on top of that, which is an added bonus. For our rune, I'd like to explain why I used Magi's. I actually asked a friend of mine a long time ago. He had a friend who was a really, really, really good bunker guard. And I was trying to learn bunker guard really well, and I asked him for advice. I asked, what rune should I use? And he told me Magi's, and all that time I'd been using clerics, and sometimes I even swapped to soldier once, and that was awful. Don't ever do that. But he told me Magi's, and I said, why? And he told me, well, it just gives you it gives you better stats for you to deal with other things. And that was true, actually. I used Magi's, and it was an instant difference. It was so much better to have the extra health and the precision to keep my Vigorous Precision up. Right now, I believe that Magi's is actually the optimal amulet to bring for bunker guard, mainly because I'll talk about the 3 stats in particular. First of all, precision allows us to have our Vigorous Precision up all the time. So we have our Vigor up time, about 50% since it's a 5-second Vigor boon for every 10 seconds. The Vitality helps us a huge amount. My stance on the argument between having more toughness over Vitality or whatever, I think beforehand, the whole toughness thing was kind of in the favor of toughness because damage was a lot lower. It was more, damage was a lot lower overall. And so toughness kind of won out, which is why bunker guard was kind of in the low because it couldn't handle condies anyway. Right now, with the burst meta, it's just a lot of damage coming in, and I believe that more health will help you kind of give you that breathing room for burst damage, especially since health seems to, we have a lot of things to negate large attacks. So for example, eviscerates, backstabs, even sometimes mesmer shatters. I've found I can at least negate at least half of it just from a few skills. So having that buffer of health helps a lot, especially since Guardian has the lowest health pool of all the heavy classes. If we swapped to clerics, we are at 13,000 health, approximately 13,000 health. That is lower than a thief gets. Almost as low. Actually, I think thief gets to 11. I don't know. I think that is as low or just a little bit higher than thief is at Berserker Amulet. So we are at the level of Berserker Amulet, Elementalist, or Thief with just a bunch of toughness. Now, with burning being so prevalent, it doesn't even matter that we have all that toughness since it goes through armor. So with burning being overpowered right now, having that extra health buffer on Magi's Amulet helps a whole lot with our survival, passively. And also it has healing power, so it's even better. So those are the PvP build things, the weapons and the amulet. I talked about shield and Magi's. I also go over a little bit more about shield later in the tips and tricks section after we go over utility skills. So our utility skills, heal and elite. For our heal, bringing shelter. I think I've said this before. I think shelter is the best heal we have right now, especially for PvP. One Signet of Resolve is awesome. It has a big, huge heal, and it removes condies. However, when you try to cast it, it can easily get interrupted, especially if you don't have your, especially the way that dazes are being thrown out by mesmers lately. And thief headshots. I mean, it's just too much of a risk to bring such an important heal, especially since it has a 40-second cooldown. As for the recently new shout, receive the light, or I think it was called healing cone or whatever, or healing something. I can't remember what it used to be called, actually. I never used it. Yeah, it's a shout. It does have a decently short cooldown, and it heals allies, but I just don't like the fact that you have to aim it, and it doesn't have a huge heal for yourself. So you can try this. I do want to see if I can make this work, but overall, still, it has a long cast time, and again, all those interrupts coming in could just stifle your healing ability tenfold. So And Litany of Wrath is just awful. Don't use it. We're not going damage spec even at all. You wouldn't use this for midi guard, and it's just, don't use it. For your 3 utility skills, we'll be using Contemplation of Purity, Stand Your Ground, Hold the Line. Contemplation of Purity, because that gives us our second, technically second meditation, since we have our Smiter's Boon trait, giving us a meditation on our heal, so that means we have 2 medis. This medi is super important. I love this medi. It's my favorite one out of, except like maybe a little bit higher than Judge's Intervention on my list. Basically because it just removes every single Condi on you and converts it into boons. And it's a break stun. This gives us our second break stun in the like line of stun breaks that we have. We have a stun break from our Virtue of Courage, from our Indomitable Courage trait in our Virtues line. And we have this one. And then we also have Stand Your Ground, which is arguably probably our second best shout now. It gives us stability and a break stun. Really good shout, and 24 seconds, our lowest cooldown we have on our shouts. The reason we bring Hold the Line over Retreat and Save Yourselves is mainly just because it has the second lowest cooldown. 28 seconds is pretty low compared to the 32 seconds you have with Retreat, and 48 seconds, I believe, from Save Yourselves if you have Pure Voice on. You could try to Save Yourselves if you really wanted to, but still I would prefer a shorter cooldown shout just to remove Condis more often. And our best shout now, and our new shout, Feel My Wrath, our elite skill. This is one of my favorite skills ever, and it's one of my friend's favorite skills because this skill you can use. This is like our ultimate supporty shout because we can use this to set up bursts so amazingly. It is just amazing for that stuff. Not only is it removing conditions because of the rune and the pure voice we have, but it's giving people quickness. This is part of, and I can segue into my tips and tricks section for this. Feel My Wrath is awesome because, say, this is the scenario. Say a thief's coming in, and this is mainly for coordinated teams who are on TeamSpeak or Skype. Say your friend's coming in, he's a thief, and he says, all right, dude, I'm coming in. I'm going to burst this dude, this ranger. He's like being real annoying. We need to get rid of him. He's damaged. Let's get rid of him. Targets him, and you're like, okay, cool. I'll pop quickness. And he comes in, you pop quickness, and boom, 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 he's dead. Instantly. Just fast. Real fast, before you can even react. That is how powerful Feel My Wrath is. And hopefully I have footage of all this stuff in the background showing you how it goes on, stuff like that. It just helps a whole lot to have that set up. And you can even do for multiple allies. Just say, hey, you two guys, we're going to burst this guy real now. 1, 2, 3, Feel My Wrath, boom, quickness, down, and stomp. And this is also awesome because you can use this to stomp people. Quickness stomping is really awesome because you can stomp someone most of the time before they can get their number 2 skill off to interrupt you if you don't have stability. So Feel My Wrath, really awesome skill. The other tips I can have, especially with shield, for the shield, there's a few things you can do. One of the things, it's really effective well, let me start over. It's really effective at 2 things. One is control. So you can use it to control fights. Just like you can use your line of warding on your staff to kind of control the flow of fight, you can use your shield to control enemies. So say your friend, your whatever thief or warrior, someone chasing this dude, and you're like, and he really can't catch up to him or something. He's just getting outrun. You're like, all right, you run up to the guy, pop shield of absorption, boom, right into the wall, sets him up, set up that burst. You can even use Feel My Wrath at the same time to get everyone else's burst off even faster. Nice little trick to do. And even just controlling the flow of the fight by putting up a shield of absorption in the middle of a team fight helps a whole bunch. Kind of saves some allies, and on top of that it has the cool heal and projectile absorption. The second main reason to bring shield is for rezzing and stomping. So I'll talk about stomping first. Say your ally is stomping an enemy and you see someone coming by to knock them away. You can protect your ally from that person if you just run in and use that shield absorption to keep them away. That allows people to get secure stomps off. Although technically as a bunker guard you should be stomping or be the one stomping since you have all the stability and stuff. But that's if you don't have your stability up and someone else is stomping, you can quickly go in and knock the enemy away. For rezzing, this is the trick I found that works really well. You can get a res off pretty easily if you have Protective Reviver up off cooldown. So the first thing you do is you go in to res someone, and say there's an enemy about to stomp your ally, and you go in to start rezzing them. The Protective Reviver pops, and that shield absorption knocks the enemy away, heals you. and you start rezzing a little bit. The guy gets up, comes back. You stop rezzing, then you activate your shield, your number 5 skill on your shield to knock them away again, and then you get the res off. You should have enough time in those 2 shield absorptions to res your ally up to full and get that Aegis protection and regen. So those are some neat tricks to do for the shield as well, and also the Feel My Wrath shout. One other thing, just to note on the staff, your line of warding is really useful because it goes through blocks. An enemy can't block the line of warding. Blocking doesn't stop it. So you can use this if you see a guardian blocking. You can try to interrupt their heal, their shelter, by putting that down. If you see a warrior using shield to block, you can put the line of warding down. That line of warding can go through block. It can't go through stability, but it does strip off 1 stack of stability as well. So there you go. That's the bunker guard. And before I end the video, I actually just want to say that I'd like to start calling it support guard. I totally forgot to say that at the beginning. I'd like to start calling it support guardian because that's truly what it is. This is not some tanky motherfucker sitting around on the point just going, haha, I can't die. And no, you have a high survivability. As long as you know how to dodge. That's another important thing I forgot to mention. Knowing how to dodge is important. Learn how to dodge if you want to be a good bunker guard. You need to learn how to dodge things, dodge important attacks and skills, huge bursts and stuff like that. That is the key to survival. That is the one lesson I learned playing bunker guard. But literally, this is just support guardian. This is Guardian at its finest, I believe. This is true form of Guardian right now because it is full support. You are supporting your allies with boons, active defense from Shield of Absorption and from staff, setup bursting with your Feel My Wrath, all the good stuff on top of all the healing you'll be doing as well. It is the true support Guardian. That's what I'd really like to call it from now on. So that was the end of the video. That's all of it. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do try out the build. Give me some feedback on it. If you play it and you see something that you don't like, just let me, and you're like, hey Raz, this worked a little bit better. This, let me know. I'm still working out the kinks of the build. There aren't as many as there used to be, but this is as far as I've gotten with it. And do try it out, please. Let me know. So I hope you enjoyed everything, and I will see you all next time. Bye.